Hey everyone, thank you very much for jumping on. We'll start at 1 minute past. As you can probably see, I'm here at Motive 3PL in Sydney, and they've been so kind as to allow us to use this facility to kind of use these webinars. If you hear a bit of background noise, it's because they're picking orders and moving stuff around as I'm running the session. Obviously, they can't stop. So, but if there's any issues with any of the audio or anything like that, please just let us know in the chat. I'll be switching between sort of two different cameras today. So I've got obviously this one that I'll be speaking to for parts of this. And then I've also got another one kind of mounted up to my left, which I'll just do now. And then I'll use this camera setup so that you can see what I'm doing physically as I go through and sort of pack orders and that kind of thing. One of the things is that I've got this barcode scanner, but when I scan something, you actually can't hear it. So if I scan this barcode here in front of me, it made a beep, but it's sort of inaudible. So it sounds a bit silly, but what I'll be doing is I'll actually be saying beep out loud so that you can tell that I've scanned something, because otherwise it kind of just seems a bit like stuff's randomly moving around on the screen without any context of why that's happening. So I'll try and remember to do the beeps. I will admit it's a little bit hard to remember to do it every time, but I'll try and do it as often as I can. All right, so we'll kick off. So this is our third webinar in the series. It sort of continues on from the last one we did, which was called Unboxed 2, where it was really focused on a lot of the enhancements that we'd made around the e-com picking flows. And last time I spoke to things like the pack by SKU functionality that we'd released and the pick to tote flow. And today we're going to be sort of carrying on into the next part of that, which is the packing stage. And as many of you would be aware, we've recently released the new pack screen, which is being rolled out at the moment. We've got probably roughly 40, I think it's enabled for about 40% of our customers, and the rest will have it sort of over the next, basically 5 business days. We're just sort of progressively enabling it for more customers each day. And yeah, I mean, this is sort of the next phase of the e-com pick and pack workflow. So what I'll be taking you through today is what's new in the system and what's changed. So the first thing is we've introduced this new concept of warehouse fulfillments into the warehousing system. So previously you needed to sort of do this flow and have packages that you were shipping into, you needed the TMS or the pack screen add-on. We've now combined all of that into the WMS, and we're providing these warehouse fulfillments. So I'll go through those. I'll then talk to this new status that we've added, which is the picked status. And so after you finish picking an order, you can have it go into picked and then to packed. And how that fits in, to using pick to tote and other flows or single order picking. I'll then go through a live example of the pack screen. So obviously I'm here in their warehouse to be able to take you through that, sort of show you how it all works. You can see what I'm doing as I do that. And then we've made a bit of a change to wave picks as well, so that they now auto-complete when you finish. And I'll go through and explain why we've made that change to the system. So just briefly to cover off some of the objectives of the pack screen. So there was several. The first really was for customers, particularly in an e-commerce environment, we really needed to split picking and packing into specific steps. Previously, if you were, say, picking a single order by itself, there was never the ability to sort of pick it and then pack it separately. It would always go immediately to packed. And so we've added this in so that you can separate those two processes, so that things like pick to tote, you can have people picking and people packing separately. We wanted to make the packing experience just way better and work to sort of make it awesome for people, which, hopefully you feel that we have when I run through it. But also a big thing about it was just to reduce errors. So making sure that at the pack stage, people are reconfirming the product and that kind of thing to ensure that they're shipping out the right goods. The next thing up was we already had sort of the warehousing system and the transport system, but there was nothing in CartonCloud that was associating the products that you were shipping out to which box they were shipped in. And so we wanted to tidy that up as well, to make sure that you could actually, if someone only received, say, 1 of 2 boxes, you would know which items were in that box, and you could track that information. So creating that link between those two. The other thing we wanted to do is we ended up with quite a few different flows for how we connected to carriers. Some people would have it connected just directly off of sales orders. Others would have it connected off of the consignments in the system if they were using the pack screen or they were using our TMS. And we wanted to kind of bring this all together and make a standardized integration flow. And this is partly because we're adding click and connect carriers into the system, click and connect to systems like Shopify, Starship, and those sorts of applications as well, rather than having to reach out to us to have this functionality turned on. So to enable that, we needed to make a consistent flow through the system for the integrations, and that's also a big objective of what we've done with this. And now, I mean, with all of these enhancements, you have sort of labels that come out, whether they're to go, on Ozpost or FedEx or onto your own fleet, that you can sort of use those same consignment labels across the entire system, which is pretty cool as well. So bringing those two things together. So firstly, to cover off what warehouse fulfillments are. So essentially, we've created a new type of consignment. Previously, we had types like delivery, pickup, point to point. We've added another one called a warehouse fulfillment, and this is specific to be used from a sales order. And the intention with a warehouse fulfillment is that you can use it to, say, book with a carrier and get it shipped out. So it's really designed for the end process of a sales order. If you're going to be using, say, your own fleet to go and do deliveries in our TMS module, you'll still create normal consignments because you need to allocate them to drivers and do all that kind of thing. But for just straight sales order, picking and packing and shipping, warehouse fulfillments are what we use. And they're included for free on all WMS plans. So they don't count towards any of your inclusions. They will just get created and exist, and you don't need to pay for them. And each sales order can have one or more warehouse fulfillments. So an example of where you might have two warehouse fulfillments is if you were to, say, have to split you had a large order and you needed to send it out in, say, 2 different boxes, and each of those had their own tracking labels. That would be an example where it would become 2 warehouse fulfillments in our system or 2 consignments. The new pick status is what we've introduced in to separate the picking and packing flow. Now, an important thing to note is that if you're an existing WMS customer, by default, you have to enable this. So we've kind of left everything off on your account so that we don't change any of your workflows on you. But this is something that you can then go in and turn on and add in this picked status in between the picking in progress and the packed status so that you can go through the pack screen and do that. So we've renamed what used to be called packing in progress. That's now called picking in progress. And then we've added this picked status before the packed status. If you just want to continue to use the warehousing system the way you always have, where you just go straight from, picking in progress directly to packed, you still can. That's still completely supported in the system, but we've added this in if you want to use it and turn it on. So how you can go about picking orders. So you can use the picking mode on the mobile app. We internally refer to it as picking 2 because we have an old picking mode, which was called picking legacy, that customers prior to, say, 2013 have access to. So you can use the picking mode. So you can do this for individual orders at a time. You can also do this with orders which are picked through a wave pick, through the split pick and pack, and also the pick to tote waves types. So if you use either of those, once you finish the picking process, those orders will all be updated to picked. And also, if you use the web application and you have the warehouse fulfillment generation turned on, then when you finish the pick process, it will update the order to picked, and then you can go into the pack screen to do the pack process. How can you pack orders? So you can use the new pack screen, which I'll demonstrate in just after this slide. And you can also continue to use the mobile app as you have. So if you had sort of the TMS pack screen add-on previously, that would bring you into a screen where you could tell us exactly like what you were shipping out. It would be generating consignments. You can still do that exact same flow as well. Cool. So I'm going to come across now to a bit of a live demonstration, and I'm going to just switch the camera over so that you can get a bit of a better sense of exactly what I'm doing. So I'll switch to this camera. Hopefully you can all see that. So I've got my packing station set up here. I've got a label printer in front of me. I've got a set of scales here. I've got my barcode scanner. Behind me down here, I've got a few totes. And so these top three have orders in them that I have just picked earlier using the Pick to Tote on the mobile app. I'll have to remember to sort of talk up to here. And what I'm going to go through now is I'm going to open up the pack screen and then take you through how you can pack an order using it. So how to access the pack screen is you can go into Warehouse and then Pack Sale Order. This brings up the new pack screen. Now, from this screen, you can find orders in a few different ways. You can search for them using the reference numbers. You can scan a pick slip. A pick slip has a barcode printed on it that you can use here. Or if you've used Pick to Tote, you can just scan the tote. So if I come over and grab this one and scan this, you can see that brings that order straight up. I'll just grab these items out of this. And that's because when I picked it, I picked those items into that tote. So on the left here, I can see exactly which items, I can see the details about the order. So I can see this is an order for Oven Co. It's got this reference, it's got this ID, it's in this tote. Then in this section here, I'll just switch my camera back so that I'm kind of talking to you again. In this section here, I can see any packing instructions if they exist. So with this case, it says, this is a first-time customer, please include a handwritten note. And then any products which are part of the order as well. So in my case, it's these two items that I picked earlier. Any delivery instructions are listed here. And now in this section, this is actually where I then create my what we consider consignment items or packages. So how I'm going to be shipping this particular item out. And I've got the delivery address over here and then some buttons that I can use later once I've completed my packing process. Now, the way that you can add consignment items into this, so the first thing I need to do is tell it what I'm using to pack into. And I can do that by pressing on this button, Add Item, and then I can go in here and look through my various transport products that I've set up. So this is another part of the system that you now have access to through the WMS, is you can actually come up here and type in transport products, and then you can jump straight into your list of transport products and manage those and set up barcodes and everything. And that's what appears here. So you can do it that way. You can also just scan them. So I'm going to switch over to the other video camera again so you can see what I'm doing. But in front of me, I've got a printed out piece of paper with a bunch of barcodes, and these barcodes are all for sort of different sized boxes that I use for shipping this customer's products. And if I just go and scan one of these barcodes, so just click back onto here. If I scan, say, this, I'll scan the small barcode for this one. So beep, put that in. Then you can see that it's gone and added that transport product straight into this. It's created a consignment item using the dimensions and everything from that box. So that box that I've just scanned is one of these. So I'm going to go ahead now and just quickly take this up. And then what I can do is I can actually just scan the products straight into this box as well. So I scan that, you can see that moved from over here. This said 2 units before, and now it's moved one of them into this shipper that I'm sending out. I can do the same with the other item as well, and that goes across too. From there, there's a few things here. So the dimensions and everything have been preloaded based on the configuration for this transport product. So it's already got that data in there. And the weight information is coming from the product data. Now, we're going to release an update, it'll be within the next 2 weeks, which enables you to set a weight of the actual empty box, and then that would be added in as well. At the moment, we don't have a weight for that in the system, so it's only added the product weight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and quickly take this up and then just weigh it on my scale. So that's come out at pretty much bang on 1 kilo. So I'll just update this. Kilo. And now to finish this process and print out my label, because I've got a carrier integration running in the background through Starship It, I can just come along and I can either click on this, or you can actually also set up barcodes that you can scan, which will do the same action as well. So we've built this whole process to be used without having to touch the keyboard or mouse throughout. You can just do everything with a barcode scanner. And so what I'll do now is I'll just scan that barcode. And what's happening is it's updating the order to packed, and then it's going to go and print out the labels as well. And then with a bit of luck, it'll come out just in front of me. So this has just come out the printer. Sorry, I know the printer's slightly outside of the frame, but it's printed out my, what is it, AusPost label, I think. And I can then just go and chuck that on the box. And put that over here onto the rollers to sort of get pushed down and loaded into the AusPost. Got a big troll, like a big basket over there where they pick up everything from. So that's one order completed. And if you notice now, what's happened is it's marked that order off, but it's also gone and put the mouse cursor back over here, ready for me to search for the next order. So in this case, I've got another sort of tote over here. So I'm going to come over, scan the tote, beep. Now, again, I've got my next order. I've got these two products. I'm just going to grab those out of here. And what I'm going to do this time is just show you how you would use this when you want to ship this in, say, 2 different shippers. So I'm going to use one of these small boxes to begin with. Now, the interesting thing about this box is it's great for storing one of these oven trays, but it's very, very thin. So I won't be able to put this this sort of drink container in there as well. So I'll scan one of the small ones. Beep. So that added the small thing in there. I'll scan this. Beep. Let's put that oven tray across as well. I could then go and say, pack that one up. Confirm the weight for that. So it's 0.958. Yeah. And now to create my second sort of item that I'm going to pack into, what I might use for this is, I don't want to bore you by getting bubble wrap out, but what I'd probably do is bubble wrap this and then put it through this. I'm actually going to go and add another one of these. So I'm going to just scan another barcode. As you can see here, it adds a second consignment item. And then essentially I can just come along and scan that product into that consignment item. I can put it in there. With this, it is a satchel that I've packed into. I scanned a carton barcode, but I would update this by measuring it, put the weight in. So I'll just do that now. So 0. And again, I can just go through this process of saying, yep, I'm completed, and send that off. And now what that's going to do is it's going to go and create, 2 different shippers within Starship It, or 2 different packages, I think they call it. And then now I've got essentially my 2 labels out that I can then just go and put on these items and ship it. So works really well. Get those out. Again, so I'm just going to show you one more thing with this third one, and this is where I've got 2 items which are the same, and I'll show you how you can do this process without having to scan if you don't want to. So I'll scan the tote to start with. So beep on there, it brings up a new order. Grab those out. Now, if you don't have barcodes on your products, or you don't yet have, say, barcode scanners that you can use at a pack station, you can actually just move these things across with the mouse. So I'll just add in a box. And then if I click on these, so let's say I click on the ice cream scoop, which I've got 2 of, it brings up this box to ask me, well, how many do I want to pack? And I can say, yeah, I want to move both. But also, if you find that you're doing this a lot, and you don't want to sort of see this confirmation all the time, you can actually just tell it, hey, don't ask me about this again, just always move the whole quantity. And if I do that, then it will always just move everything that I click on. If it's 10 or if it's 5 or whatever, it will always just transfer it across. You can always turn that option back on. So if I turn, like you can turn off moving full quantity. So if I click on this, turn it off, then next time I try and move more than one, it will ask, and I could say, I only want to move one now, and then move the second one, and then do it this way. So it's pretty versatile, and we've tried to cover off a lot of different use cases because we know that not everyone wants to kind of rescan everything at all of these steps. In some cases, they just want to confirm sort of how they've done it without scanning. So we've tried to make it sort of as useful as possible. I'm just going to switch the camera back now to the sort of front-facing camera. That's cool. Awesome. So that's the pack screen. We hope that you find this really useful and saves a lot of time. With the guys here that have been using it, they've been using it now for about 3 or 4 weeks. They've been finding that for, combined with pick to tote, it's just saving them a ton of time. They're getting, less picking mistake or packing mistakes, that kind of thing, because it forces you to reconfirm everything as you go through as well. So I'll jump back to the presentation. So a few important things to note about this. If you are an existing warehouse-only customer, then by default, all of this new functionality is disabled. You have to turn it on. And the way that you turn it on is you go into your organization settings. So I'm just going to quickly go there now. You go into the org settings. And then you go to the warehouse tab within the org settings. So warehouse, and you can go down here. And then there's this section down here, automatically generate a consignment from a sales order. This is set to no by default for warehouse-only customers. You just need to go in there and change it to yes. Now, this setting can be also set at a per customer level in each customer's warehousing settings. But when we've rolled this feature out, we've made customers use the organization settings by default. So that's how you can turn this on. You need also to make sure that you've updated the mobile apps to version 6.29. So that's been out now for about 3 weeks. If you use a version older than this, then essentially when you pick orders, they'll just skip over the picked status, regardless of how you got things set up. But also if you're trying to use wave picking with the older apps and you have some of the stuff turned on, you'll actually find that the orders, you won't be able to progress them to packed. They'll sort of get stuck in the picked status because the mobile app won't know about picked status because it's too old. So please just make sure that you've updated the mobile apps to the latest version. If you're using the legacy picking mode on the mobile app, this doesn't support the picked status. It will always update orders directly to packed or dispatched, depending on your setup. So you need to move to the newer picking mode or use wave picking. Bulk pick and combined pick and pack waves that they bypass picking always, and that's by design. It's because that workflow is designed to just basically say, I'm just picking all of this stuff and I don't actually have a pack step associated with it. And then lastly, your carrier integrations, if you have carrier integrations configured to go directly off the sales orders, they'll need modification for them to go off the warehouse fulfillments instead. So that's where we're here to help. Please just reach out to our integrations team, let them know, hey, we want to start using this. Can you switch our integration to work from the warehouse fulfillments instead? And then we'll make sure that that's done. Wave pick autocomplete. So this is a change that we made as well, because now when you go through and you pick using the screen, so if I go back to the sort of pack sale order screen and just bring up one of those orders, if you notice, like I never actually engage with the wave pick anymore. I used the wave pick at the start to pick everything into my totes, but at the pack step, it's kind of like the wave just exists in the background. It's not shown anywhere on the screen. And so for that reason, we realized, well, people aren't going to go back in and look at the waves anymore. So they don't really have a workflow where they're going to go and mark them finished. So instead, what happens now is that when you finish just packing everything from a wave, it automatically updates that wave to be complete. We will be also running an update shortly, within the next 2 weeks or so, that will take any old waves that are in this state where everything's been packed, and we'll be automatically updating those to complete for you. And that's just to sort of tidy up that old data and make sure that you don't have a whole bunch of open waves kind of sitting in the system forever. Okay, now that's obviously what we've already released, and that's what's being rolled out. You know, a lot of you already have access to this right now. Some of you may have it added over the next or will have it added over the next 5 days. But we've also got some enhancements planned that are rolling out kind of as quickly as next week. So the first thing I spoke about is this transport product weight. So this is the weight of the actual box that I'm going to pack everything into, and being able to set that so that then when the weight automatically calculates, it will add to that weight. So where before I was out by like 300 grams, it was because the box weighs about 300 grams. This will solve for that, and it should mean that the automatically calculated weights are accurate a lot of the time, unless of course you've used other packaging or things like that. Another thing that we're doing is we're going to be flagging on the screen whether a weight is automatically calculated or you've set it manually. And the reason for this is if the weight has, say, auto-calculated, and then you've come along and checked it and you've changed it, it could be that, you know, say 30 seconds later, you can't remember, oh, did I weigh it? Did I actually put the correct weight in there, or is that just the one that was automatically calculated? And so we're going to make that appear in front of you. So by default, it'll just say auto, and it will just be counting up automatically. Once you go in there and actually write a weight in there, that'll switch to the word manual, and it'll go green. And if you want to go back to the automatically calculated weight, you'll just be able to click this button and it will reset it and then track it automatically as you make changes. Another thing we're introducing is this concept of directly shippable products. So these are items which don't require packing into another shipper. An example of this could be a carton of beer. You may just ship this directly as it is, but you can also have it with things like TVs. You know, a TV is so large, it comes in a box. That box is generally what it gets shipped in, as well as being a unit itself. So what you'll be able to do is configure on each product unit of measure. So say a unit of this product, I want that to be directly shippable, or a carton of this product, I want that to be directly shippable. And when that happens, it will add this little icon into the pack screen. And then when you scan that, it will automatically create a new consignment item, and it will copy across the dimensions and the weight from that product unit of measure straight into it. So it will just take that out of the warehousing system and apply it. And then that way, packing those things is as easy as just scanning them. And then you can just put a label on the outside of the box. You don't have to tell us, you know, it's another carton, and then sort of remeasure it and put all that information in. It will just happen automatically, which will be really good. So that's something that we're going to be working on, and we probably expect it to be out next month in October. And then lastly, we are going to be working on this functionality for the mobile app. So what I just showed you with the pack screen is on the web interface, but we've identified that for customers, particularly if they're doing things like picking to a pallet, for them it's much easier to do this process on a mobile app. There's no point bringing a pallet and boxes back to a packing station to sort of put them on the pallet. So you'll be able to do this on the mobile app just like you can on the web app. It will support all the same functionality in terms of being able to scan barcodes for different transport products and have them create, and then be able to scan things into those transport products as well so that you can ship them out. Fantastic. So that's the end of the presentation. And now it's opened up to any questions that we have. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions here. The first one is from Melissa. What if currently packing using the mobile device? So you can continue to do that. Like if you are doing the pack stage right now where it brings up the consignment items on the mobile device, you can still do that. If you're using any of the picking modes that I just described, like wave picking or individual order picking, it will still take you into that screen, and you can do it from there. At that point, the order would be marked picked, And then once you finish that process, there's a button, I think it says complete packing. And when you hit that button, it will update the order to packed. And that's where it would trigger the label printing and everything else like that. So that's kind of how it has worked in the past and will continue to work going forward as well. I hope that answered the question, but please feel free to put in a follow-up if I haven't answered it correctly. Then there's one from Mariam, which is wave picking equals batch picking, multiple orders with shared items. It can be. So wave picking can, well, ideally it is. Like ideally you've kind of combined orders together because they've got the same items inside them, and you can do that when you set up the wave. You can kind of filter for different products and create waves. It can also be orders that are just picked together but contain none of the same items or only a few of the same items. You can use it pretty flexibly. So in the order that I picked before, I think there was the same item in 2 of them, but the rest of the items were actually all different per order. So you can use it either way there. Awesome. If there are any more questions, guys, please put them in. Happy to answer it. Okay, where do you then search for what is contained in what box? Does each box have some sort of reference? Yeah, so this is something that we will be adding in, which is the ability to identify the boxes back to each label. At the moment, if you bring up, say, an order, like if I bring up one of the ones that I packed before, let me bring up this one here, for example. Oh, this one is not a good example because everything was within one box. I'll try the other one. I can switch between these to sort of see that information. We will be adding in kind of the from Ozpost, you get this thing called an article ID. We'll be adding in the article ID information against each of these different cartons, so you'll be able to uniquely identify them. We just haven't added that in yet, but it's coming as part of our kind of carrier integration work and everything else that we're working on at the moment. So right now it's a little bit of a gap, but we're working to get there. Question from Candace is, the mobile app needs to be updated to have the new packing screen or only on web? This functionality here is not yet available. It's something we're still working on, and we're working to get this out in the first quarter of next calendar year. So by the end of March 2026, ideally. At the moment on the mobile app, there's what we kind of consider a pack screen, but it's really just you set up your consignment items. You don't actually repack the items into those. You just kind of tell us there's 3 boxes and they're these dimensions and these weights, and then that's what's used to go through to the system. Could the automatic updates to wave picking be switched off if we do not want this status to be automatically completed? Rachel, I'll reach out to you after this. I'd just be keen to understand exactly why you would want that workflow. We've designed it so that it just happens automatically. But if there's a reason why we would need to leave it like that, then I'd love to hear it, and we can possibly look to make that configurable as well. Will the packing slip be able to show items by carton ID? Yeah, great question, Melissa. So this is something that we are also that'll be one of the updates that comes out over the next 6 weeks as well, and it's the ability from this screen to be able to print packing slips either on a per shipper level or for just everything in one big list as well. So not there just yet, but it's there to roll out too. So we're working on that as well. We've got a few little bits and pieces like that we're getting out in addition to those bigger things that I spoke about that are coming. It's good. So many good questions, guys. This is really cool to see. I'll give people another minute or so to put anything else in. Okay, will a secondary transport field be added in any upcoming updates? As we note, there is only one available transport field in the sales order screen. If you've currently got like the tracking details saved against the sales order, we're going to be like, while the sales orders can still have that information, we will be handling, say, like Shopify fulfillments and all that kind of stuff directly from the consignments. The consignments now contain the tracking data as well. So if I like go into the consignments here, and I go into one of these ones that I just packed, you can actually see that like it's got the tracking data against that individual consignment. In the case where we get multiple tracking numbers back, say for like 2 satchels, or if the carrier say makes you create a consignment per item, internally we will actually split into 2 consignments or into 2 warehouse fulfillments, rather than just having 2 items on the one consignment. And that's so that we can store those 2 different sets of tracking details, one against the first item and one against the second. Will the warehouse consignments group for invoicing with integration? Yeah, so these things have all the same capabilities as consignments from that perspective. So if you've got, say, 2 going to the same delivery address, then they would group together into a consignment inside of the system. One of the things is that the way that you would use the consignments to, say, charge your customer for freight would be generally on a per consignment basis. So like they kind of, say they're manifested independently with AusPost, we would have like a cost against each one of those different consignments going out. But if you're talking about using this in conjunction with the TMS, then yes, they would continue to group, and you can kind of invoice them combined. Okay, question from Kenneth. How about the internal consignment? Do we need to jump into consignments tab? If so, how will we know which product is in which carton? Yeah, so right now you need to use the pack screen to see that. So you just need to bring up the order in here. We will be enhancing the visibility of this from the sales order so that you can actually see how stuff was packed. But right now, the way that we've got it working is that information of how things was packed is only visible on the pack screen. So that's the way to go back and check it today. Good questions. We had an order that was being shipped via Australia Post within Australia to a forwarding address to then be shipped internationally via FedEx. Okay, so you've essentially got like 2 sets of tracking and details off one consignment. Rachel, I think we probably just need to, that's not sort of a standard flow that we would cover, like having kind of 2 sets of tracking and details off of a single consignment. Generally, how we would do that is possibly duplicate the consignment and then have the first set of tracking number, like the Australia Post ones, on the first one, and then the second set of tracking numbers on the second one, if it's sort of converting somewhere. But may need to talk to you a little bit more in detail about that. Question from Kylie. So if you pick your pick-to-tote orders straight into a shipper carton, can you skip the confirming packing of products altogether and just enter your package weight and measurements to finalize the orders? Yeah, so you can't do that yet. Another small thing that we will be doing is from this screen, giving people the ability to be able to scan a barcode or hit a button that just packs everything, which will be a pretty useful tool if you want to do that and not reconfirm. The other thing too that we've been talking about doing is potentially giving people the ability to pick directly into the shippers. So allowing them to do this whole packages step while the picking process is taking place. So actually add the box and then just pick directly into the shipper, so that then you've kind of completed pick and pack as you go around picking. Not confirmed exactly when, like if we'll sort of have that available on the first launch of the pack screen on mobile, but that's certainly that's certainly the way that we're trying to head with this, to make it even more kind of efficient for you as well. So, but yeah, for now, it will just give you the ability to basically say, move everything. I don't want to recheck it all. Suru, when are these updates due to be released? So the stuff that I've covered today in terms of the pack screen, this is available to just under half of our customers now, and the rest of our customers will get it by about Tuesday next week. For the other stuff that I covered off here, this transport weight stuff will be out either next week or the week after. The directly shippable products will be released sometime in October. We're still just working on this part at the moment. And this pack screen on mobile, we're pushing to get this out in the first quarter of next year. So in that January to March period.
we're still obviously a bit away from it, which is why I can't give sort of, firm dates exactly, but that's what we're working toward. I hope that helps to answer those questions. Can the theoretical weight of the individual items be compared to the measured weight as a cross-check that all items have been picked correctly? Yeah, so if you were, say, when I showed the process before and it was automatically calculating the weight, once we've got the weight for the transport products loaded into the system, and you have that added in like the box weight as well, which will, as I said, next week or the week after, you'll then have a weight in there which should be very accurate to what you're actually shipping, with the exception of if you're putting in bubble wrap or foam chips or something like that to try and protect things. So should be pretty accurate. If you then put it on the scales and see that like what you've weighed is very different to that number, you would know straight away like, oh, something's wrong. Why is it out? It should be that you can just put them on the scales and basically cross-check it and go, they look the same. It's, it's within sort of 2%. I'm just going to send it. I don't need to replace it with the exact amount. So I think that would do what you are after. But please let me know if I've misunderstood that. Cool. Hey, again, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to join. We really hope that you can start using this quickly. If you need any assistance, please reach out to us, reach out to our support team. We're there to help. And yeah, we would just love to see you using it. And by all means, please send through your feedback on it. Tell us, what you like. If there's things you want us to improve, let us know. Very receptive to feedback and just really trying to make it as good as we can for you to kind of get through the peak season that we're heading into now. So thank you all again.